What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Van Aken. Today, I'm joined by Marcus Stewart. How you doing, Marcus?
Hey, I like that we don't know what to do with our hands right now.
Yeah.
For audio listeners, we've had jazz hands.
Yeah.
We had a regal wave.
Yeah.
We're just feeling handsy today. But
Not in
that way. Like in a.
We're not touching other people.
We're not in the same room, so I guess it's okay to feel handsy. Like none of us are in danger.
We're just touching things on our desk.
Yeah, exactly. Our
desk
like
is stimulation. Yeah. We're grounding ourselves in the moment.
So are you stimulating your desk, or are you getting stimulated from touching
the
desk?
Well, I wasn't trying to mean it that way. I was just like, like you have anxiety, or you have a panic attack, or a stressful situation. You like touch the things around you to
ground yourself.
Ground yourself, and you like feel the stimuli of like, oh, this feels like fake wood on my desk, or this. Oh, sorry.
This?
No, mine. Totally feels like real wood. My desk.
Okay,
yeah.
it's like I thought this was the finest mahogany, but it's like particle board.
Yeah, but it grounds you, right?
Sure.
So listeners, and if you're listening to this at work, touch your desks at work. Touch the countertop if you're listening to this while you're cooking. And
I thought you were gonna do like a televangelist thing of like reach your hand to the screen right now.
I'm getting there. Yeah.
Okay.
And just be in this moment with us.
Yeah, touch your desk
right here
and feel our energy and course through us. And also, if you could send us 5 regular payments of $10.99 each month.
Yeah. Or you can just subscribe to us on Twitch. That's fine. Get access to the Game Informer community Discord. But in this moment, be with us, just like Charles Hart is here with us in this moment. Hello, Charles.
Hello. I'm feeling my desk, and I'll be honest, it's definitely not real wood, but I don't think I'm confident in touching wood and being like, that's real,
Even if it's an actual tree.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not sure.
I mean, I'm sure there's a spectrum, right? If it's fully fake wood, I can definitely tell, and if it's a full tree, I can definitely tell. But I'm sure there's at the Cincinnati Zoo, they have the
rails.
The rails, yeah,
guardrails.
They're like not wood, but they're carved to look like tree trunks.
That throws me off. Yeah.
And I saw like a making of on TikTok once, and they're just like concrete, and then they paint it, and then they texture it like wood, and it was really upsetting. And I guess I didn't think they were wood, but I didn't like think about it. It's just
It's like that's a lot of work. You could have just used wood. But then again,
But you get petrified wood because that's basically concrete, and then you kind of get both.
That's true, but
it's harder to look cool.
Probably harder to get petrified wood.
Yeah.
Unless you can get it in a bucket. And again, I'm saying this, I don't know enough about petrified wood. I said it's probably hard. I don't actually know how.
There's probably a TikTok on it explaining how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a few million years to wait, you can make it happen.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show, gentlemen. Let's talk about we got a lot of video games to talk about today. We're going to be talking more Starfield. I've been playing the hell out of Fortnite, Armored Core, Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate on PS5, a lot more. If you want to support the show, go grab a single issue physically on sale at GameStop.com/GameInformer for $5.99 plus shipping, or you can go to your local GameStop, skip out on the shipping, and just get an issue for $5.99. It's a great way to support us. But if you would prefer to have a subscription, you can go and get a digital subscription today, GameInformer.com/magazine, and get each new issue delivered straight to. We have an app. Did you know that we have an app on iOS and Android? And it works
I did not know that, actually.
It works really well. It's not like one of those proprietary apps that some companies have that don't work. It works really well. I read it every month. So go check it out. But before we get into all that, Marcus has an update from. Are you back at Minion Land, Marcus?
Kind of. I'm adjacent to Minion Land in that last Friday I got to attend the opening of Halloween Horror Nights, and really the reason I was there was that I got to go through the Last of Us house that they have there. Was sort of the big new attraction, pretty much the headliner for this year. I got to go to a media event, and I got to tour the house twice. The first time with Neil Druckmann, of course, Naughty Dog president and the co-creator of The Last of Us, which was more of like a, it wasn't like live, so to speak. There were no actors. It was more like him and the gentleman that sort of was the lead behind designing the attraction took us through, and we got to look at everything. And then at night, me and a bunch of press got to go through the house for real, as well as every other house there. And it was a great time.
Yeah.
For one, despite growing up in Florida and going to Universal Studios / Islands of Adventure countless times, like I really don't know how many times I've been there, but it's been a lot. I have never done Halloween Horror Nights ever. And not because I didn't want to, like I love horror, but it was one of those things where like either I would be invited by friends and I was busy either with work or I just wasn't around, or I would just forget about it. And then also it's really expensive. Like, have you guys ever gone to Halloween Horror Nights?
I've been to like something similar at King's Dominion.
Okay. It's funny. I was talking to a journalist and he mentioned that King's Dominion does a similar thing.
Yeah.
Charles, no,
I'm not really a horror person or amusement parks person. So neither camp is my kind of thing. But if it was Last of Us themed, I would probably go.
Okay. For those who don't know, Halloween Horror Nights every September, Universal Studios basically transforms into a gigantic haunted house Halloween version of itself. Usually starts around like 5-6 o'clock at night and runs to like 2 a.m. And they have all these haunted houses, most of them like original themed, like they have their own like IPs and stuff. And then there's always a couple based on like an existing property. Like they've done The Walking Dead, they've done like Resident Evil, like the movies, they've done, and it's been around for like 20 years at this point. And this year, in terms of the licensed stuff, the big three were The Last of Us, Chucky, like the TV show that's out, and Stranger Things season 4, which they've done Stranger Things before, but this one was based on just the last season.
Yeah. Which was a really good season, to be fair.
And had a good house.
It had a very good house. The haunted house.
Yeah,
the haunted. It was very good. It was, like I said, it's my first time ever doing this, which was really a delight. I got to meet up with a couple friends there that are also in media, and then also meet a bunch of new friends. Shout out to Group 5, which is what I was part of. We all became very tight as we went through the haunted houses. We did 10 in a row together. It
bonds you for sure.
It really did. Like we hung out afterwards. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to the crew there. And in terms of The Last of Us, I'm actually working on a big feature for our next issue of the magazine that is coming out for October, like our Halloween issue, basically. So I have more details there. But it was something that they announced a couple months ago that they were doing this. And I got to sit down and interview Neil and the other gentleman's name is Mike, who kind of led the design to ride about like how it came together. Apparently Neil is a huge fan of Halloween Horror Nights, and apparently it started with a tweet where like a couple of years ago, I think Halloween Horror Nights tweeted out like, hey, here's our houses for this year, basically. And some fans had retweeted him or something.
Yeah.
And basically said like, man, The Last of Us would be a cool house if if you did one. And then Neil being like, and like, basically he's like, I didn't think this would work, but I kind of wanted to see if I could get a conversation going. So he kind of retweeted that and just put it out there of like, yeah, it would be cool. Maybe one day. And then apparently literally that day, Mike DM'd him on Twitter saying like, do you want to talk? You want to make this happen? Because turns out he and a few other people at Universal are big fans of the video games. And I should stress that the house is it's based on the video game exclusively, not the HBO show.
Okay, yeah.
Which is cool for me. I mean, I haven't seen the show yet, but I love the games. And looking at it, it's pretty much a recreation of Pittsburgh. And it's mostly focused on it's pretty much focused on the first game specifically. So you've got Joel and Ellie in there, like actors playing Joel and Ellie. Though they also got Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson to record new dialogue. So if you've ever been to Halloween Horror Nights, they always have like some dialogue that is playing, and then the actors sort of pantomime it, so they're not speaking it, but it seems like they are.
Yeah.
So you see like the Joel and Ellie actor or performers doing something, and then you hear like Troy Baker being like, "Mask on, spores," something like that. But it was a cool house. Like the detail is immaculate. And I've always heard about like how like incredibly well done these haunted houses are for Halloween Horror Nights, and The Last of Us is no exception. Where we went through, and they were showing us how like there are so many things like visual elements and Easter eggs that are ripped straight from the game that are just like in there. Like you see, there's like this truck that's crashed, which apparently was a real truck that they just like beat the crap out of. You're like journeying through. They got the little cubby holes with the performers that are dressed up like clickers jump out and scare you. The sound design sounded great, where you can hear the clicker sounds like, and it's got this sort of like spatial awareness where you're like, I hear them, or you hear these screams. And then you got like, not even just the full on clickers, but you got the kind of like, I don't know what you call them, but the infected that aren't quite clickers, but they're pretty much infected.
Yeah.
Kind of like regular zombie people, I guess we'll call them. Like the former, like there was one lady that's just kind of like hovering around, swaying, and she's kind of like taking swipes at you as you walk by, and everything just looked great. Like the outfits for the clickers, because they don't even just have clickers, but they got bloaters too, and I think one other variety, but they look fantastic. Again, I haven't seen the show, but I have to imagine it's probably comparable to how they appear in the show. And like as we're walking through with Neil, he's showing us like, hey, here's some like just fun visual elements from the game. Like all the signage is from the games. There's like even lore notes from the games that are there. Like there's this maybe hardcore fans might remember in the first game, you find that note from Ish, who was like the soldier that Joel knew in the sewers. Like the note from the Ish note is recreated in the game, like as it was.
Yeah.
And and there's also the there's like one corner in the room that has the one, like we find like dead bodies in one section of the first game, and it has the little like chalk note on the floor saying,
"Oh yeah, I remember that.
They died peacefully," or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do you remember? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that's recreated just there, and it looks amazing. And it's funny because like it's also got sort of the wide linear design that those games have, where a lot of the haunted houses, at least the ones that I did for this year, can be pretty claustrophobic by design. Whereas like kind of really tight corridors, you're kind of like are forced to be put up against the things trying to scare you. Whereas The Last of Us a little wider. Like there's some areas that are linear, there's some like bigger areas where in my mind I could see myself like, oh, if this was the game, I would be in this area scavenging for like materials and stuff, And they even have the crafting bench like recreated in there.
Oh, I love that.
I asked Neil, because when I was interviewing him, I talked to him. I was like, maybe the scariest thing that you've ever done between the two games is the workbench jump scare in the second game. And so when I saw the workbench, the guy's like, "You guys gonna do anything like that?" And he just kind of laughed at that. And I'm like, "Oh," he's like, "No, I don't think we have that, but that would be cool." But you're also, like you said, you when you get into the more infected areas, they like have hallways that have like the fungus all over the walls. They even have spores that rain down when you get to one section where you see like silhouettes of Joel and Ellie kind of making their way through, and you see like, again, Joel do the thing where he's like, "Oh, spores, mask on," and then spores just rain down. It looks amazing. And it's just, again, as a fan of the games, it's like, it's so, you feel like you're in that world to a degree of like, what would I do if I was like confronted with like a clicker or like an infected face to face? And it's like the closest to that sensation, right? I will say I don't think the house personally was like scary, so to speak, and it might be because I was so just like, wow,
enamored with
this
the
is
detail.
the video game, that it didn't, like, there were definitely other haunted houses I did that night that were scarier. Shout out to the Exorcist.
Oh God.
They did, that was probably the scary. Did you know the new Exorcist movie that's coming out?
I have never seen the Exorcist movie and never will.
Okay, so
never, ever.
Looks like we got. I have a new mission in life, is to get you to watch The Exorcist. But the new Exorcist movie, they have a house based on that. And to me, that was my number one of like, that was terrifying. But yeah, this, I would say The Last of Us, I didn't find it to be scary, but it was very impressive. Like you see, there's like a battle with like, you see the Ellie actress kind of coming out of like an alleyway, and she's got the shotgun. And you hear like again, you hear Ashley Johnson be like, "Die, you MFers!" and she's just shooting at him. And the actors look good too, and it's fun. You know, definitely if you for Halloween Horror Nights fans, and obviously if you're a Last of Us fan, it's worth checking out. But hopefully if you do go, you're able to get in a timely manner, because when we were there opening night, and granted it was opening night, but it was like a 2-hour wait to get in there. Like it was a long line, which I've heard
they fast pass you though, right?
Oh yeah, like because we're media, like because all the media broke up into our own groups, so we each had our own Universal like handler basically, who just walked us on the rides, which is the only time I've ever really had that access. I was talking to other media that cover this every year, and when I told them it was my first time, they were like, "Oh, you're gonna be so spoiled." Because like like you said, like Halloween Horror Nights is so popular that like, you have to pay so much money, and then if you're lucky, you might get to do maybe 3 houses in the time that you're there, if you're willing to wait for that long, like multiple lines. So to be able to, it definitely, like I did not take for granted the ability to be like, oh yeah, we're just being walked straight on and just do it. And then she's like, all right, now we're going to the next house, and we're going to take you through all the scare zones, which is sort of the in between, because you know when you're walking just from house to house, they got all the actors that are just in the street, like trying to spook you and stuff. There's like fog everywhere, and then some of the attractions, like the normal rides, are active too. So like afterwards, we rode the Mummy and like the Rip Ride Rocket roller coaster and stuff. But yeah, it was super fun. I would do it again, and I'm excited to see what other people think of the house now. You know, so
awesome. Yeah, no, it's funny when Brian and I went to Universal Japan. I'm just now putting it together. At the time, I think I was too jet lagged to put it together, but it turned into, when we went to Nintendo Land, it turned into their version of Halloween Horror Nights, because we were there in October. And I was like, why is it suddenly haunted? Huh, interesting. Must just be like an attraction they do. And they had a Resident Evil themed haunted house that you could get in line for, or a Biohazard rather. But that's funny. But I did experience like the scare zone thing, where like people are coming up to you and there's fog everywhere, it's hard to see, and they're just like haunting the streets and running after people.
I would love to see Japan's take on it, because Japan, like Japanese horror, is so good. Oh
yeah, it was creepy. Lots of girls with like scissor hands and like long it's like, hair, like covering their faces.
Exactly. Everyone just looks like the Grudge girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, that might be. I would do it, but that would probably be a lot to deal with.
It was creepy.
I would love to go with you guys as people that are generally horror averse. We had one guy in our group who I more or less made it a point to stick with him, because he told us ahead of time, he's like, I've never done this, and I probably wouldn't do this unless I was getting paid to do it for like work. But like his reactions to like everything as we went through this gauntlet of houses was just hysterical. Like it was like just the most genuine reaction of just being scared out of his mind every time someone jumped at him and stuff.
That was like me during replay when I first got hired. It was my first Halloween at GI, and Ben Reeves, Dan Tack, and Reiner all made me play horror games for the month of October. Like I played all sorts of stuff. I played like there's one about a nun that would chase you around a haunted house. It was all horrifying stuff.
Was that when you guys did what's that name of that game? Spooky haunted house mansion thing, whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What is it called?
Murder House.
Murder House. Right.
Yeah, I played that whole game. Which that game I ended up really liking afterwards. Although I would never play it again. It was way too scary. Charles, essentially like
I appreciate you taking a moment. You're like, I'm going to translate this because Charles has no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Murder House is a PS1 inspired tank control horror game. You know, like the old Resident Evils. But there's a serial killer who dresses up as a bunny, and he is in the house and he stalks you, and he can appear at any time, and it's like kind of like Amnesia. I think it's Amnesia, where you can like hide inside of like the cupboards and stuff, and like peek through and see him walking around. And who makes that? I want to shout them out. I know they actually like have a lot of followers because they only make horror games. Puppet Combo. is what they're called. And Puppet
Okay.
Combo also made. I'm just gonna type in Puppet Combo. Nun Massacre was the other game. And if you just like, I'm gonna put this in.
I'm looking at this bunny.
Okay, yeah, you see that. I'm gonna put it in our podcast Slack channel. If you just look at Nun Massacre on Itch, the first GIF at the top of the page, you can see like what the vibes of this game were, and it was just awful. So
I've seen this game.
So I sympathize with the guy who said I would not be doing this unless I'm getting paid. It was so stressful that like I was thinking about calling out of work sick.
I was about to ask between you and Brian, which was more skittish, like in a horror environment, but it sounds like you just answered the question. Unless Brian was.
There are clips out there of me, and it feels like when you're watching, like there's no way he's this scared. He's definitely like putting on a show. He's got to be putting on a show. I swear to everything I know, it's not an act. It just I hate it. I hate it so
next
much.
year we're gonna get you for the Halloween Horror Nights media event, and
absolutely, yeah. You better have a camera on me, I guess.
Oh, all the cameras. 10 houses in a row, full gauntlet.
Yeah, but that sounds fun. I wanna see photos of the Last of Us part in particular.
Yeah, like I said, tune into the upcoming issue in our not the current issue, but we haven't announced like the next issue for October. Yeah. I'll have some pictures that I took, and yeah, it's a fun piece.
Awesome. Well, what do you guys want to talk about next? I feel like we're all playing Starfield still, right? Is that?
Yeah, we could touch on Starfield. I mean, it's out for realsies now.
Yeah,
as of this week for everybody.
Absolutely. I did not play it last week I was kind of listening and sitting back last episode. I've played the game now. I've played for about like 5 hours or so. Maybe 6. I'm not too deep into it yet, but it's all right.
Now be careful what you say, because the internet's very sensitive about what you say about this game.
It's hard going from an RPG like Baldur's Gate with its breadth of reactions to your choices and different scenarios that can happen. Like it's just, there are a multitude of different ways that game can end up, and it stinks because Starfield just, from what I've seen so far, my choices don't feel like they are doing that. Like I'm not seeing those outcomes.
Yeah, because it's not built for that.
Yeah, it's not. And so it's but that is like where my mind goes as a point of comparison, because I'm still playing Baldur's Gate.
I don't want to say it is technically built for that. I mean, when you go to Constellation, they let you know very early, like, hey, we're pretty loosey-goosey in terms of morality. Like, we don't ask questions.
They said that, but then I did a bad thing because I was like, I want to play a bad playthrough. And I did a bad thing. And it was like 15 minutes after she was like, yeah, I'm not the morality police. I don't care.
Sarah?
Yeah, and she screams at me. She's like, "Murderer! They're innocent!" And I'm like,
"What did you do?"
I started shooting an innocent ship.
And just a ship. It wasn't even like a person.
I was trying to take their shit. I was like trying to figure out how to like do piracy, and so I just started shooting at the ship. And she's like, "They're innocent, you murderer!" I'm like, I thought you said you were cool with this,
or maybe. It's because I've heard similar stories about like,
because she did say what you said. That's why I was like, oh cool, I can be a bad guy and it's not going to affect this character.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like because again, that's kind of been one of the disappointing things. I've heard similar stories from like people that were like, all right, you said we can basically do what we want, and I did a thing, and then she and maybe other characters are like, whoa, why did you do? We hate you now. And it's like, but I thought,
I reloaded my save. It like discouraged me from doing the thing I wanted to do.
Yeah, and it's like, on one hand, maybe if you interpret it as, we won't ask questions, but it doesn't mean I like it personally. Like maybe the organization, we're fine with it, but if I'm present, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna be cool. But like, but then it's like, then why emphasize that in the beginning of like, hey, do what you got to do, and you won't be judged, more or less. Yeah, it does feel like a bit of a betrayal of that. So I thought they were setting it up. I was like, okay, this is their out for letting players do what they want, is that line of dialogue. But then,
and I was like terrified, like I'm gonna like mess up this quest because her reaction was just so harsh. And maybe I should have stuck it out.
Like Sarah strongly disliked that.
Yeah, maybe I should have stuck it out to see what happened, but it instantly discouraged me, and I reloaded my save and didn't do that anymore. And that was like a bummer because I was like, Sarah, I thought you were cool, you know.
I have her react like that to me, but in her defense, the left bumper is the scanner and the right bumper is the grenade button. So yeah. I pressed the right bumper and I wasn't really looking, and I threw a mine on the ground, and she was like, hey, watch it, you're gonna get someone hurt. And I was like, oh, sorry. And I think my hand went out, but I was walking, so I didn't actually see the mine go. And then I was like, oh geez, I won't press the mines button anymore. And then I walked away, and then someone walked into the mine, got blown up across the screen. Then Vasco the robot comes running out of the ship and then just starts fighting all the police or the guards or whatever because he's defending me. And then Sarah is like, she said something like she was really against it, and then it said like Sarah Morgan has left your party. So I guess she like left because, anyways.
That's pretty messed up. She just ditched you. Like, hey, at least back me up to get me out of this situation. Like, nah, you're on your own, buddy.
Yeah, and in her defense though, of like, hey man, like we're cool here. I do feel like there is a difference between like, hey man, if you shoplift from Target, I'm not gonna say anything, versus if you kill a minivan full of people, like there is a level there, but I don't actually know what they.
But
care.
I mean, if that's
but she said she didn't care.
Yeah, like if that's the case, they should maybe tighten that up a bit. Like, hey,
maybe they should say, hey, I'm gonna be mad at you if you're bad.
Maybe establish boundaries a little more clearly.
Yeah,
we're not like prudes or anything, but we have a line, you know, like we have a code of honor.
Just you gotta communicate that to me, you know?
Yeah,
because I wouldn't have you in my party if you're not cool with that, you know?
Yeah, which I guess you could just ditch her and then maybe.
But then I don't know how that affects the main quest.
Well, I mean, you don't have to have them around for everything. You can send. I don't know about. I mean, besides
the part I was specifically on. We're like going after a dude.
Is it like the
together.
First real quest you do with her?
Yeah. And
you have to have her.
And I was like, I'm gonna do bad things, and she was like screaming murderer at me. I was like, okay, chill out. I shot them. They're in a ship. They have shields.
They're not real, Sarah.
They're fine.
This is a video game.
Sarah, this is a game. Yeah.
You're not real.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say I played a little bit more. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, but just having played other RPGs in the time between this and Fallout 4, and even before that, like stuff like Witcher 3, where I will say that I'm having a harder time doing the thing I used to do with the Bethesda RPGs, where I would hit every line of dialogue, every dialogue option. I was like, oh, I should have to hear everything that they have to say. And now I don't care to, and I'm still learning. I'm still early, and I'm still learning all of the allies' like backstories and meeting them. But like, so I'm not like married to anyone yet, but I'm not finding anyone particularly interesting where I'm like, I want to know more about this person. And I've also been trying to teach myself where it's like, you know what? Maybe it's okay to not care to ask about their past. Like if I just, because I felt like it feels like I'm doing it more out of sense of obligation and habit of like, I got to make all these text boxes gray.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of just like, I don't know. Do I really care what you did before Constellation? Like, not right now. So I just want to ask them. Like, maybe later when we hang out more and maybe you open up and say something interesting. I'm like, oh, tell me more about that. But like, it's teaching me to not play it in an obligatory manner of like going down the checklist because it's already like taking me aback of how signposty a lot of NPCs still feel. Where like I'm not at the point where they feel like real people yet, just like maybe morally challenged like mannequins, you know?
Yeah.
And again, the stuff with Sarah about like, okay, you told me one thing, but you're clearly reacting stuff. Like you see things where like the maybe the scripting is kind of like it's sort of betraying the premise a bit. Like I had a moment actually yesterday where I was doing the Sam Coe mission, which if anyone, it's another early mission with like you do with like you go to his thing, and basically they give you a thing like, hey, you need to get this important like map from like his dad, and him and his dad are like not on good terms, and they give you multiple ways like, hey, you can maybe convince his dad to give it up, maybe you can use his Sam's daughter to coerce him or something, or you can just straight up steal it, like just distract him and steal it. And like I tried the persuasion, didn't work, so I was like, all right, well, I don't want to bring Sam's daughter into this, I'll just try to steal it. Like you can have Sam distract him. So like the distraction is like, oh, they have like a conversation basically, and then you basically lockpick and steal it. But then which is embarrassing, because I have never failed a lockpick before this, but I failed like the first time and I only had one lockpick on me, so I couldn't do it. Like I was basically locked out of that option unless I left to go get more lockpicks. So I was like, oh man, well I could go do that. The Digipicks, yes. Which makes me think of Digimon every time I say it. It sounds like a Digimon device. But I was like, well, I don't totally know where to get lockpicks reliably. I've just kind of found them laying around. You know what I mean? Like I don't know who sells them.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just go to the daughter and just do that option. And so like, but I wasn't sure how, since I was already locked into the stealing thing, Sam and the dad were having their little spat in the corner of this house. And it was like, can I interrupt that to be like, hey, I'm gonna let's just get your kid to maybe do this. So I just went back to the ship, talked to her. She's like, yeah, okay, I'll help. And then Sam, because Sam didn't come with me because he's still in the house debating with his dad. But the moment I'm like, hey, kid, let's go do this, he like just warped to where we were. And he's like, I don't like that. And then I got the like, Sam hates that you're doing this. But I was like, wait, how did you even know you were at the house? But I guess because he has to react that way, they just like teleported him there. But then I guess because they didn't account for people suddenly switching on a dime, the moment we start walking back to the house, Sam like resumes the argument with his dad, but he's not there. So he's talking to no one as we're walking.
Sam has...
Yeah, like we're walking there and Sam's like, no, Dad, listen, this isn't what it did. And I'm like,
he's got space flu.
I'm like, did I break that mission? Because then I get back to the house and then the dad is alone, but he's still carrying on his side of the argument. And then Sam doesn't come in. So the dad is literally going, oh, no, you ran away from home, Sam. And then long pause because that would be Sam's line. And then going, no, exactly. That's what I mean. And it's just like, oh, no, did I break this? I broke this mission. And then also because of that, when I brought the little girl in, I couldn't initiate whatever her method would have been, because I talked to her and there's no option to be like, all right, talk to him or do whatever. Because, I guess it was like, since he was still locked in the previous choice, you do the thing when you talk to an NPC and it's like, oh, they're busy, so you can't interact with it. It was like that.
Oh, no.
So then I was like, I can't do either of these now. Like, I have essentially locked myself out of two options because they just, like, running them together like that just broke it. So then my only choice was to try to find Digipicks, since I was like, well, I guess I'm still committed to the lock thing because he's still talking to Sam, sort of. So I just had to run around that town for a bit until I found a vendor that sold them. And then I bought 3 and then managed to unlock the door and get it. But it was the moment where I went back to the house and he's still just talking to himself, the dad. And then I just took then I just stole it and then wound up kind of like fixing it more or less, because then it continued. But it was definitely one of those like, oh, okay, there's still some like
broken.
That's so interesting. That's like in Dungeons and Dragons books, when you're reading it as a DM, it's like, this is the scenario. Your players can either talk to the guy or they can pick the lock or they can do whatever. And my issue with those books is always, it'll say what you can do, but it doesn't say what happens when you fail them, because it just assumes like, well, they'll do one of them and they'll succeed. Right. And this feels like that, where it's like, I don't think it's that unreasonable that you could fail to persuade him and then fail the lock pick and then run out. So like, I don't think the logical conclusion is run around and buy lock picks. Like it's really interesting.
Especially because you're like, I don't know how long, so again, it's telling you like, I don't know how long he's going to keep him distracted. If I assume I'm on like an invisible timer, you know, before that just falls apart. But yeah, it was a thing.
Well, you had time to go to the store.
I had time to go to the store, run around the town, go back to the ship to get the daughter to try that. As
they just had
talking to each other from like a mile away.
Yeah, they just had a list of grievances. They were letting it all out.
I mean, it's funny because the guy he starts the conversation being like, "Oh, you want me to tell you everything I hate about you, son? How much time you got, buddy?"
Is he really?
Yeah, he straight up says that. I guess trying to clue the player is like, maybe you got some time, but it was just weird. Like, I didn't think it would take Sam out of that moment, but he would still kind of be engaged with it. And again, like you said, it felt like the game didn't account for like, what if you fail picking the locks? Does the game automatically react to be like, oh, you're out of time, go try the other method that you didn't?
Yeah.
So
that
yeah,
seems like something
that
seems like something would be primed for like a patch or something.
Yeah, so stuff like that took me out of it, but it's I've had moments of fun with it. My last session when this happened, I was having a hard time sticking with it. Maybe because I was playing just other stuff that we'll talk about, but it was one of those like it was showing like the Bethesda formula was showing its age, I guess, in a way that was like unpleasant. Where like there was a time where I was cool with this, but maybe now so many other games and RPGs later that have done this kind of like, again, open-ended choice-driven stuff better and like reactive gameplay better, that this is still antiquated by comparison. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of where it definitely ended my last session on a bit of a sour note.
Yeah. I'm still having fun with it, but it is like the caveat that, or I have this thorn in my side that I'm like, I wish I was enjoying this more. Like I'm having fun, but my expectations were higher, I think, for it breaking away from the formula, and maybe that's my fault for not paying attention to marketing beats and stuff, as much with this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I there are things I really like about this game. I really like the costumes and like the character customization in the game. I think it's really fun. It's kind of at odds with the encumbrance. I don't mind encumbrance in games. In Starfield, it feels literally like every 3 minutes I am like I'm in my menu making a choice of what to dump. And that's kind of a bummer. But when I get back to my ship, I have like all this cool stuff to sell. And like I've only played like I said, like 4 or 5 missions. I got all these different spacesuits that have different effects. I've unlocked the jetpack finally, so I've got that. Which I was hoping for something a little more jetpacky. I had the basic booster.
Kinds.
Okay.
Yeah.
The basic booster is just kind of like feels like a long jump, and then brings you back down. But I think like the gunplay is fun. I enjoy the different weapons. I really like. I've got a like old timey shotgun. I forget what it's called.
Is it the Coachman?
The Coachman, yeah. I've got the Coachman.
Yeah,
I'm a Coachman main.
Yeah, I like the Coachman. And then I've got like a silenced Grendel, I think they're called. And yeah, I'm having fun. I think I'm still waiting for it to really hook me because I've been kind of playing out of obligation of getting a video review done for work. Enjoying it. It's not like I'm like hating my time or anything. I think it's just hard when there's so many incredible games out right now, vying for attention. It's like a good game is viewed as disappointing, right? Versus like
I mean, that's been
amazing.
the discourse around this game, right?
Sure, yeah.
All the overblown anger about like certain outlets giving it a okay score and just being like, hey, this is fine, but it's got problems. And then people that were really excited for this game taking this as like a personal attack. And then on the other side, people that were never going to play the game in the first place, that were always kind of like rallying it to fail, using it as like, this thing sucks. The game that scored a respectable score is garbage. Take that. And it's just like been so.
Just be normal.
Be normal.
I know. There's
like,
a few listeners
so
listening to this
way?
who are probably mad at us for talking about the game in the way that we are, but like, just be normal. It's a video game. You can have different opinions than me. I promise you it's okay. When we're talking about games, something that's supposed to be fun and enjoyable, it's totally cool if you have a different opinion. It hurts nobody for you to like a game that I dislike, and vice versa. So like, don't act like it does. It's
like,
and it's like, oh well, I'm tired of these reviewers like not being objective. Reviews are inherently subjective. They are literally, it's
or it's like the thing of like, or if we are subjective, but it's like, well, your opinion doesn't line up with mine, and that's bad.
Yeah,
it's like, I wanted you to parrot my thoughts.
What's like, a valid feeling is, oh, I'm upset that you don't like it as much as me because I want to share in the enjoyment of it with you, right? That's like a valid opinion, and being like a little upset that somebody doesn't like a thing you like, versus this is a personal attack on my taste as a player, therefore you are now a hater or my enemy or whatever. It's like, I get that you can be bummed if I don't like a thing that you like. That totally makes sense. Like, there are plenty of games that I love that my friends don't, and it bums me out because I'm like, oh, I really wish that you would like this, because it's important to me, right? And I want you to enjoy it too. Versus, we've already said it, but just be normal.
It's like if you find yourself, because that sentiment boils down to, I'm angry at you because you didn't enjoy the game as much as I hoped that I would. Because you haven't, because I say hoped because you haven't played the game yet, but the reviewer has, but you're mad at them. He's like, what, you didn't like it? How dare you? Even though I haven't touched this game at all yet. Somehow I know that you're wrong. And it's like, that's not one, that's unfair and wrong. And it's just not healthy, man. At the end of the day, it's video games. Like, take it from someone where video games is my livelihood. Like, video games aren't that serious. It's not life and death, guys. It's just a video game.
I can recall like countless times during, working at Game Informer where like somebody will say like, and then again, like you said, it's our jobs, our career. We'll like just be like, hey, it's just video games. Like because it is. Yeah. Like let's all dial it back a little bit. It just.
Yeah, just one.
And I even get more. I actually I get more excited about a game when there are. I mean, granted, if everyone's like it's a 10, I'm like great, but like when I see a game that gets like different scores, like a wide range, I'm like, oh, okay, that like frees me up to feel like I can more easily make my own decision about a thing and like not feel like I am, at odds with other people's opinions, right? And so like just play the game yourself if you want. Come up with your own opinion. Share your opinion if you want, but like in a respectable way, and like don't be weird.
Yeah, like it's okay to disagree or even be critical of an analysis, but don't cross that line of like personally attacking people or doing a thing where like I'm gonna dig up all their social media history to prove my personal bias. Like, see, this guy said something positive about Sony 2 years ago. It's clearly he's against Xbox.
Yeah,
you're like, okay, it's like, let's slow it down there, buddy.
Yeah. So, anyways, Starfield. Anyway,
it's okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep playing it. I've heard some rumblings about like an interesting New Game Plus thing. Greg Miller was talking about it. Greg Miller from Kind of Funny was tweeting over the weekend. Talking about like New Game Plus is like really interesting for some reason. So that's kind of got my interest peaked. I want to see what's up there because I'm not normally somebody who plays New Game Plus. And I've heard other people are like on their third or fourth New Game Plus, and there's some weird stuff happening.
Wow.
I think that was Paul Tassi tweeting about that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. But for now, I've been really digging Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 4. It's the newest season. It came out probably a week ago, I think.
Every time you say that, anytime someone's like Fortnite Chapter 4, it sounds like being in church and the pastor's like, all right, open your Bible to turn to Leviticus Chapter 2, excerpt verse 3.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, the Bible of video games, Fortnite, as we all know.
That's what it's commonly, that's actually on the top of the press release.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Chapter 4, we were actually talking to Marcus about this off the show beforehand. And he was asking like, okay, what's the difference between the chapters and the seasons? And Charles and I were saying that Fortnite's big arcs are like segmented by the chapters. So like the first chapter was obviously the inception of the game. The second chapter was when it was like the peak of their live events where they blew up the black hole started and the whole map got sucked into the zero. Was it the zero point? I don't remember if the 0 point was introduced at that point. Yeah,
I started Fortnite in Chapter 3, Season 3, and so in getting ready for it to go from Chapter 3 to Chapter 4, me and my girlfriend sat down and we're like, all right, we got 5 YouTube videos queued up. We're gonna learn about the lore of Fortnite. Yeah. So when this event happens, we can kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah. Chapter 2 is like the first new map, and like that's when they introduced like fishing, and I think in that season there were also, was there ever skiing in the game? Water skiing, or was that just cinematic? I don't remember.
Like a jet ski?
Yeah, like on the sharks.
They had boats.
I think so. That might have been when they added vehicles. Like there weren't always vehicles in Fortnite, which is weird. It's weird to start playing Fortnite now and then
Fortnite Chapter 1 had vehicles because there were golf carts and ATVs.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so Chapter 2 is like the first new map. Chapter 3 is when they introduced zero build mode, which is what I play. I used to be a build sicko. Like I would make friends. I think I made Jeff Cork a video tutorial actually, for him and his son on how to build. So I used to like building, but I only play zero build now. So that was introduced in Chapter 3, and in Chapter 4, Charles was confirming to me earlier, was like when they switched over to Unreal 5. And so now we are in the 4th season of that. So roughly about a year into that change. And yeah, I'm really liking it. They're kind of bringing back the like secret agent, spy, heist themes that they've had in past seasons. And there are 3 different forts around the like giant like complexes around the map that have a vault of treasure inside, and by treasure I mean like very, very rare weapons and that kind of thing. And you have to like sneak past like laser traps and turrets and a bunch of NPC bad guys, as well as the other players that are dropping there. And that's sort of the theme, but I think Fortnite's in a really strong spot right now. It's a lot of the weapons that are in the game. So they routinely will change out the weapons throughout the seasons, and they call it vaulting. So they'll vault, a weapon or bring something out of the vault. And it just overall shifts the meta of the game. And right now I think the meta is really strong. I think like they've got these, so last season or the season before that, at some point during this chapter, they introduced like a twin magazine SMG. And now they have an assault rifle version of that. That is one of my favorite guns that has been in Fortnite ever. I love it. They have a cool thermal DMR. But the star of the show is this rocket ram, I think is what they're called. And it's essentially a battering ram with a rocket attached to the back. And you have to like charge it up, and you shoot into the air, and then you crash down into this big impact when you land. But the thing is, it can destroy structures, and so you are like just tearing through buildings and causing as much chaos as possible with these battering rams. And I've been having a blast. Charles, have you played it at all? This new?
I actually have not. I haven't played. I fell off Fortnite last season. I didn't play at all, and then I heard this new one was really good, so I've been meaning to go back, but I haven't yet.
Yeah.
Do they still have auto shotguns? Because that was like my favorite.
The Maven auto shotgun is still in the game. That's my favorite too. They have a new infiltrator shotgun, and I haven't figured out the difference really between that and the auto shotgun. think it's a little slower of a fire rate and maybe a little more damage. But yeah, I'm like you. My main loadout, if I have it my way, is auto shotgun, scoped SMG, or just an SMG of some kind, the twin mag assault rifle. Depending on the map and like the rotations we're doing, sometimes I'll swap the AR out for the thermal DMR. And then I'll have a battering ram or a rocket ram for mobility, and then I'll have some sort of healing item, usually like small shields, and that's my go-to. But yeah, I've been having a blast with it. It's I also feel like for some reason I'm just dialed in this season. Like I've been playing really well, and that makes it more fun, obviously.
Did you buy the Ashoka skin? That's like the big new
battle pass
crossover, right?
Yeah. So she's
I don't
not
think she's
not in the game, but if you buy the battle pass, you'll get her, I believe.
I think she's a mid-season.
Yeah,
I'll double check.
She is.
I was gonna say, like, is she fun? Does she come with any? I didn't know she came with any like special abilities like they sometimes do. I mean, they've had other Star Wars characters in the past.
Yeah, I
like,
imagine when she gets put into the game. So like they do these mid-season skins. Like I believe Geralt was a mid-season skin, where you buy the battle pass and like roughly 6 weeks in, Geralt gets added, and then you can do a quest to unlock him. It's kind of a reason to get you coming back in between the big beats of the game. And I imagine with Ahsoka, they will introduce lightsabers back into the game for that week.
Okay. The mission is subscribe to Disney Plus.
Yeah, right.
Please watch her new TV show with this character.
Yeah, I will say I'm not a huge fan of the battle pass this time. There's like one or two all right skins. There's one. Are you familiar with Fish Sticks, or like the character Fish Stick? I think that's his name.
Oh, is a character named Fish
Yeah,
Stick? Nah,
Fortnite.
Is that like a Fortnite original character?
Yeah, if you look up Fortnite Fish Stick, you will see him.
Is it Kanye West?
It is not. That's funny though.
Okay.
So let me know when you've looked up Fortnite Fish Stick.
All right, I'm looking it up.
Okay. All right.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah,
I've seen him.
you've seen him. Okay.
Yeah.
Now look up Fortnite Fish Thick. THICC.
Now, was that with two C's?
Two C's.
Oh boy. Should I turn on safe search for this?
No, you're fine.
Oh, he's swole.
Yeah, it's buff fish.
So I thought
stick.
he was gonna. I was like, he's either gonna be like sexy and thick, but he's like.
Nah, he's muscle
muscly.
man. Yeah,
He's pretty much they made him a Chad, right? He's got a backwards hat.
And he's got like protein powder for his back bling, and his pickaxe is a dumbbell. You're muted, by the way, Charles. But yeah, so he's like the best skin, and he's only like, I think he's like halfway through the battle pass, and once I unlock him, I'm good. Yeah. Oh, he of course skips leg day, but
yeah, tiny little legs, but
he's got little fish stick legs still.
It's impressive that he even he's a fish.
Yeah, Marcus. Like he's a fish lifting weights. Like
I mean, it's probably more powerful because if you're lifting weights underwater, like the weight is like different, you know, because buoyancy. So it's like it's probably the equivalent of like training in a gravity chamber from Dragon Ball, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of like doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I am probably one play session away from unlocking Fish Thick. And I really
can't wait to hear your Fish Thick updates.
Yeah. He's gonna be a sweaty boy. But
There's
yeah,
a shirt that says sweaty on it.
Yeah, it says
Sweaty's Gym.
Yeah, Sweaty's Gym. So I like Fortnite a lot. I love Fortnite. One of my favorite games. I always go back to it. But yeah, I've been playing it. I'm enjoying it. I do wish there were some more offerings in the Battle Pass that kind of spoke to me. I always like the wacky ones. But, you know, not every season can have you know, a standout Battle Pass. It's also optional, completely optional. Blake plays Fortnite probably as much as me, and I don't think he's ever bought a Battle Pass. He just plays the free
What
version.
skin does he play as? Does he buy skins or is he just...
No, he just plays the default dude.
That's love.
Yeah.
That's really, you really love Fortnite if your default skin never bought Battle Pass.
Yeah.
That's very pure.
I want to buy him.
Like,
yeah, like
there's got to be a character one day that is just like he can't resist, right?
He likes Resident Evil 4, right? Because they've
had Resident Evil characters
in there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him and he was like, "Yeah, it looks good, but I'm not buying it."
God, it's got to be like.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's giving in.
Really likes.
I want to just gift him a skin, so but I don't know if he'll wear it. Like maybe it's like a protest thing.
I mean, he has to wear it because out of politeness, right? It's like when you buy someone clothes and they never wear it, and you're like, did you not like the shirt that I gave you?
Yeah.
Maybe if Slitterhead makes a character and it gets added to Fortnite, then Blake will be Slitterhead character.
Right. Death Stranding, like Sam Bridges skin.
Oh, I think he would eat that up.
Honestly, surprised that's not a thing.
Kane and Lynch Death Stranding skin. If they had a Max Payne skin, I can guarantee he would buy.
Oh yeah, the baby could be like the accessories for the skin.
yeah. Oh wow, yeah. And the pill bottle for your
just throwing poop grenades at other players. Be great. Get on that, Kojima.
I love that Max Payne mechanic. That classic Max Payne mechanic, throwing poop at... Oh no, that was is that Death Stranding?
That was Death Stranding.
Oh my god, I was thinking Max Payne.
You thought we were talking about Max Payne?
Because you're talking about the baby. Oh, I thought you were talking about we were talking about different games that entire time. I thought you were talking about the baby that his family that's murdered at the beginning of Max Payne.
No,
I thought you were
talking about BB.
No, I was talking about
Max
Payne's dead family is who I was talking about. And I was like, dang, Marcus, okay.
I don't think I want a skin for that baby. That level in the first Max Payne, we have to do that horrible maze, and every time you fall, you just hear the shriek of that baby.
Yeah, it's awful.
Still haunts me.
Yeah.
And also because that's just a bad level in general.
Well, who knew Max Payne and Sam Porter Bridges had so much in common?
Well, do they? I mean,
babies.
Sam Bridges is better at keeping his baby alive than Max Payne.
Yeah. Listen, that's not on Max Payne, okay? He's doing his best. No.
I guess we'll see in Death Stranding 2.
Yeah.
BB's fate. Well, actually, isn't BB like grown now? Wasn't that in the trailer where like BB's like a toddler?
That sounds right.
Maybe making that up. I thought that was one of the things that made me go, oh, when I saw like the Death Stranding 2. Like, oh, look at little BB. He's a person now.
That's it's either a fever dream you had or for sure in the game.
Literally impossible to tell. Death Stranding.
Only there was a way to look this up.
Yeah. If only. Marcus, what else you been playing besides Starfield?
Well, I finally started Armored Core.
Oh, okay.
The 6th edition, Fires of Rubicon.
Yeah.
And I will say, as someone that has never played an Armored Core game and also isn't really particularly into mecha in general, I don't dislike it. It's just not really anything I've ever gotten into. But I am a From Software fan, mainly of the Soul stuff. I am really liking Armored Core so far.
Good.
Yeah, I was excited to get into it. I've heard some positive buzz just from people that have played it. And I've had people insisting that I give it a try because I put out there like, oh, it's in my backlog. And I've had people saying like, you should bump it up.
Move that up, man. Yeah.
So I started over the weekend and I'm still early. I've done the first probably 6 or 7 missions so far. But I'm liking it. It's I think one of the things I'm enjoying is that it's more. I think I've always confused the series with Steel Battalion, because Steel Battalion's the hardcore one, right? Where you have to get the fancy controller and it's really granular with parts and whatever. But oh, you really gotta build this mech out and spec out all these different parts. And I was like, oh, that just seems like too much work. I don't want to do all that. Whereas this definitely has that, but it's more streamlined, I guess. And video gamey in a way where I'm like, okay, this isn't intimidating. I see I've got these different guns and rocket launchers, but it's more about either making specialized builds or just trying things out. I've been forcing myself to try new weapons every time I get them to see what they do and try to formulate oh, if I combine this handgun with this railgun, I could really mess people up in a way that speaks to how I like to play games.
Yeah.
But like between that and just the moment to moment action just feels really good. Like you feel cool all the time in that game, which is what I like. Like you go into like an arena and you see like all the little idiot robots that think they can stop you, and you're like, I got something for that. I'm like, first I gotta reach you, so I'm gonna jump and I'm gonna like fly through the air like a really cool thing. You're like zipping over there, and then you like land and then slice someone apart with your laser sword, and then you're just like targeting 3 others and shooting your missiles. It all feels really easy to pull off and like fun, and it's clicking where I'm like, yeah, this is what I like. 'Cause I love stylish action and like crazy action games, you know, like I don't know, like Devil May Cry or stuff like that. And like this isn't that, but it's hitting the same like just notes of like fun chaos, you know?
Yeah.
I was stuck on that helicopter boss for a bit, which, you know, classic From Software is sort of like that boss is like the first like gut check of like, all right, this is your test, your first test of like the early skills. But it was like necessary because like by the time I beat him, and it only took like probably like 4 or 5 tries, but like I felt like I was ready for the game after that. I'm like, okay, now it's gelling. Because in the beginning I was a little overwhelmed trying to figure out like, okay, how do I move fast, but like I don't want to boost? How do I just run faster? And like managing your little energy meter and all that stuff. But then after that fight, because you know they like forces you to smartly use all that stuff and manage your energy and weapons, I was like, okay. A good Armored Core pilot, I think I can get there. And I'm also liking just the like the mission structure. Like it's a very easy game to just pop in and be like, I'm just gonna do a couple missions and then play something else, you know? I like that they're pretty brief, at least again from what I played so far.
They are.
But it also makes me excited to see the other bosses. I've heard so much, you know, touted about like, man, there's some really good boss fights in this game. And
have you done the Strider yet?
No.
Okay, that's a really
is that a boss?
It's like an encounter. It's one of the early ones.
Okay,
so.
I don't believe so.
You would know. You would know.
I did fight a student mech pilot, which was funny to me.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, does he have like a little bumper sticker or like a sign on his mech that says "Student Pilot"?
I felt bad taking him out.
Well, he beat me the first time, and he kind of bragged about it. So when I beat him, I didn't feel bad.
Oh, I beat him first try, and it was just like, I was like, I'm sorry.
He had a line of dialogue where he's like, huh? I just beat an AC pilot, and it made me feel ashamed that I lost it as a kid. Like this weird like pimple faced teenager probably.
Yeah.
And then so like the second time I annihilated him, I had to let him know what the pecking order was there. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think the game looks nice too. Like, and I also like, even though the environments are pretty gray, I went out of my way to paint my mech in like the brightest colors. Like it looks like a Fisher-Price toy. Basically, and I kind of like that because it just looks implausible for this universe that someone would paint their mech like that. It's got this really bright red and blue and like some white, and it looks like I'm like fresh off the assembly line, like just out the package, and I'm like, hey guys, I want to shoot guns too, is that what we're doing? And then I kill all of them, and they're like, wow, we thought this guy was a joke because look at his rainbow mech, but he's not one to mess with.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to get back in there and keep proving that I'm not the one to mess with, you know? Maybe kill some more student drivers, who can say?
Oh, I hope not. Yeah, there are number one, Blake and I wrote the cover story on Armored Core earlier in the summer, and there are so many times in this game that I'm playing and I'm like, why didn't they show us this? Like because we, you know, I don't know if famously is the right word, but like we had some folks that were upset with us for not being like, I think we were fair on the game and very balanced, but like it wasn't like a glowing, you know, piece, right? It was like, hey, it's doing some cool stuff. There's also some stuff we're worried about.
Are you saying that you didn't like the game as much as they hope that they're gonna like it?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, Marcus. But I've been really, the final release, I've been really excited because there's a lot of stuff that I really, really like about it. I think there are some things like I still think could be improved. Like some of those missions, early on at least, especially in Chapter 1, it's like, okay, what are we doing here? Like I just loaded into a mission and killed some dudes for like 5 minutes. Now I'm gone, and there was nothing really of note there. But then the further you get, it's just like, you just like load up a random mission and you're in this huge set piece moment. Not even really, I mean, sometimes not against a boss fight, but like there was one mission, I won't like spoil it, I'll just say like if you've climbed the wall, then you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's just like this like really cool like war front that you're rolling up into. That's what it feels like, right? And everything's kind of clicking and firing on all cylinders, and you really have to rely on your mobility and your you really have to like spec your mech in the right way. And like you said, it makes you feel spec your mech.
Should be a t-shirt.
Yeah, you're right though, Marcus. The game excels at making you feel cool. Like when you're like flowing from the assault boost into a melee strike with your energy sword, and then you like dodge out of the way and like shoot some other dudes with your vertical missile launcher. It all, like when it's flowing together, it feels really good.
Yeah, like I had a scene where I took out an entire squad and they were like shooting everything at me, but I was just like, probably through luck, I was like dodging everything artfully while just like blowing them apart. I had the big bazooka gun on one of my arms, and I was just like staggering them or just blowing them apart outright. And then by the time the dust cleared, they hadn't like touched me at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how I didn't get hit during that like barrage, but I feel really cool.
It's anime. It's really
yeah.
neat. And I hear like it just continues from anecdotally. It sounds like it continues to like up the ante in those encounters. So I need to get back to that game. I am that's like at the top of my list to get back to, along with Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, Blake finished it recently, and he seemed pretty high on the way the game wraps up.
I've heard like the story as well. It just has some really interesting beats.
Okay, because I don't care about the story at all right now. So
you will, like, but there'll be some like recurring characters that you start to get to know.
Okay.
Yeah. At least that's my impression. Like there's a couple of other pilots that are in the part that I'm in. And I'm like, okay, we're either gonna be best friends or we're gonna become rivals, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But bosses are fun so far. I'm at the end of chapter 1, and I have seen all but one of the bosses so far just from like preview beats. And so it was, luckily I was like, okay, I'm like just kind of doing what I need to do to get through them. I beat the Foundry dude. Was that his name? The Foundry? Not the Foundry. I don't remember. He's like the first big mid bossy fight. I beat him on the first try and I was like, let's go. But yeah, I'm excited to keep playing.
Yeah. Have you played yet, Charles?
Not. I didn't put my name in for a code, and it was one of those things where didn't put my name in. A few days passed, and I was like, should have put my name in. So I haven't played it, but it seems cool, and I support your enjoyment of it. I would. Can I use this as a segue? I was gonna say I don't want to cut anyone off. I'm gonna say I would play it if I wasn't spending so much time playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh.
You playing on PS5?
I am now. So I was gonna actually use this. I didn't really talk about Starfield a whole lot, but I'm gonna talk about both of these games at the same time because to me they're very related in my brain. I really like Baldur's Gate 3, and I think it is at a point, I don't know if you guys do this when you're playing the games throughout the year, but like a thing will stick out to you and you're like, that's probably my game of the year.
Yeah.
It's happened to me 3 times this year. First it was Jedi Survivor. I was like, oh, this game so much. Can't imagine somebody topping it. And then Zelda came out and I was like, I mean, yeah, I'm so mad that I can't put Jedi Survivor at number 1. And now playing Baldur's Gate 3, I'm like, I am so mad I can't put Zelda or Jedi in my top number 1 spot because I think it's just this game.
That's where I'm at too.
And it's like in such a way that it's hard for me to play Starfield because I think this has just changed the way I want to interact with that type of like choice-based RPG, and like the things that I think will be allowed or enabled by the game at all just aren't a thing. So like in Starfield, this isn't really spoilers, but very early on in the game, you join a group called Constellation. It's all about, exploring the galaxy. and it's a thing that in Baldur's Gate 3 it would be phrased in such a way where like you wouldn't have to join Constellation. Like it's you come out of the mines and it's like, hey, this guy showed up and he's like, all right, you can have my ship and you're going to go join Constellation. And I wanted to click the option to be like, I don't know you, I don't want your ship. And not even that like I was super interested in shrugging off any story in the game, but it was a thing where as soon as I was playing the opening hours of Starfield, I became acutely aware of the fact that there were things I didn't really have a choice about, and it kind of bothered me. I think even compared to other Bethesda games, like the conceit of Skyrim, where it's like, hey, you are the Dragonborn. You have some mystical ability, and it's going to inform your decisions. And you can ignore that, I guess, and go explore the world, but you're probably going to want to figure out like what that's about. Or like Fallout 3 and 4, it's like, hey, where's your son? Or hey, where's your dad? Like it's stuff that inherently as a character, no matter what like personality traits you're kind of imprinting onto them, that they're gonna want to do. And I felt like Constellation isn't necessarily a thing that I think every character would want to do. No. And I was kind of just like, I guess I'm gonna go along with this, but there's not, if I'm not a like adventure seeking character, which I don't think every character is, there's not much of a reason for me to want to go along with it. And so I'm kind of having to meet Starfield on its terms, as opposed to what I'm now like wanting to expect from that type of game of like, all right, I won't be the character I kind of came up with when I was building this character and picking his options. I was like a cyberneticist. I have like the parents perk. So I'm like, all right, I was like a nervous cyberneticist, kind of awkward. I still send money to my parents. I'm like a mama's boy, whatever. And now we're just going to kind of sheepishly make our way across the galaxy. And instead it's like, no, I have to go adventure and do these things. And that's fine. And that's what the game is. But I had to learn that that's not what to expect from it.
Yeah. It's like when I booted up Starfield, I wanted there to be, of course, I know that it's about exploring space, but I wanted the adventure to be, you know, as low key or as high key as I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Based on what I was role playing as. And you don't get that choice at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And even further from that, there's a lot of stuff. I guess to tie back to Baldur's Gate 3, I've been playing it on PS5. I was first playing it on my computer, and then I have a Steam Deck. So I've probably played like the vast majority of my playthrough on Steam Deck. And then you can use cloud save. So I have it on PS5 and I'm playing it on that, which is definitely
there was cross save between the two platforms.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
So I have my like 80-hour save file on the PS5 now. And it is glitchy. And I think there was like a funny, like weird debate. There was, I think a guy at IGN did a opinion post about how like Baldur's Gate 3 is so polished that it's making other people stress out about their games, and that has its whole controversy you can go follow. But it was an interesting thing because it's, to me, I'm playing the game like I'm actually encountering a lot of like arguably game-breaking glitches. And PS5 I was hoping would be the most stable of it, and it immediately there's a thing where if you're walking in like a city and there's all the dialogue around you,
yeah,
for whatever reason, it seems like certain like dialogues will cut out all the audio. And I had it a few days before it like came out for deluxe members. So I was playing it and I was like, oh, I don't know how to fix the audio in this game. And then eventually found out you can turn off 3D audio on the PS5 and it'll work. But all that to say, performance is like, it runs well enough, like the frame rate's stable, and it's like generating the areas better than like the Steam Deck did. The load times are much faster, but it's not like a bug-free experience on PS5 if that's what you're hoping for.
Yeah.
But despite the fact that I have these like big technical issues with Baldur's Gate 3, it still is so good to me that I am going out of my way to push that stuff aside and still like engage with it in a real way. And Starfield is just, I don't know. I wish I was playing Starfield 6 months ago, and then to see how I felt about it then, as opposed to having to compare it to Baldur's Gate 3, which I just like a lot more.
It's funny. I am in that opposite mode where I have not touched Baldur's Gate 3. I have it for PS5. I mean, by the time you're listening to this, I may have already streamed it for GI. But hearing everything about it, and also again playing other stuff that the choice driven stuff feels a little more organic. Like, I mean, I think The Witcher 3 is still like one of my gold standards for like choice driven stuff and like side quests especially, where you're just like, I kind of miss that, you know, like things feel less robotic, I guess, in those other games, to where I'm like, I'm almost afraid to play Baldur's Gate 3, not because I'll enjoy it, but I like you said, Charles, of like, if I play this and then go back to Starfield, which I'm already playing for now, again, at the point that I'm in the game, is half of it is out of obligation, you know, and like I'm still waiting for it to truly get its hooks into me.
Yeah.
But like, if I play Baldur's Gate, is it going to completely derail that? Which, I mean, that would be fine. Again, Baldur's Gate is a great game, and I have every intention of playing it before, you know, end of the year. But it is that like, oh, this is probably going to like cannibalize this other game, right?
Yeah.
Like, and also as a D&D fan, you're like, oh, I know what I love about D&D, and I would love to see more of that in games. And just hearing you guys' anecdotes about it, and just other people, it's like, man, that all sounds super fun. I like that. I want to do some of that. And again, it's satisfying that just that freedom and to tackle things as I want, and having the game sort of accommodate that again, so far in Starfield, it hasn't scratched that itch yet.
It's another interesting thing about like comparing the two games is Starfield is kind of like marketed as this big like exploration based game of like, you can explore the cosmos for yourself. But as I've been playing it, I haven't really felt like incentivized to actually explore all that much. And the first, my story about this is the maybe second time I was playing the game, I wasn't like crazy about it. I was like, we're doing all the intro stuff. And then I kind of got past that and I was still not really feeling it. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to a planet. I'm going to pick a spot. I'm going to land there and I'm going to explore, because I really missed like my favorite parts of like Fallout and Skyrim is like, you're at point A, you need to get to point B, and then on the way there, I'm like, oh, here's a town, or oh, here's a side quest, or oh, here's
like
whatever.
Side tracking of like, wow, there's a cool dungeon here. I probably wouldn't have seen if I didn't go down this road. What's in there?
Exactly. Or like, all sorts of stories. And in Starfield, because of like the weird fast travel space system that doesn't really exist in the same way. So I was like, I'm just going to pick a spot. I'm going to walk around. I had some fun, and I found a like pirate camp on this planet. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I ended up like fighting the pirates. Another like Baldur's Gate 3 thing where I'm like, I kind of want to talk to these guys. I don't want to kill 30 people if I don't have to, but it's not really how it works. Got through, found this like chests, all these chests inside, found this like big boss guy I killed. I found a spot where there was like a super high level locked weapons case, and I was like, oh, I don't have a high enough lock skill to get that, but then saw a guy that was like buried under some machinery in the corner, and he had dropped the key, and so I picked up the key and used to unlock the weapons. I was like, that was great. What a great adventuring experience. Fast forward 10 hours in the game, I'm doing a story mission, and one of the things in the story mission involves going to get an item from a pirate camp. And I landed there, and it is the exact same base structure.
No.
It is the same exterior. It's in like a crater in the same way. And
different
even
planet?
Different planet. But even down to the guy has fallen over, key is in front of him, locked weapon case in like the last room. And the only difference is like at the very end, there's like a room into like a mine. And like to Bethesda, I'm not even saying that like you shouldn't reuse assets. I think in a game of this size, like I thought it was a really satisfying base design, but just knowing that like sometimes exploring is gonna come back and there's not as much of a reason for it if it's gonna be like repeating structures or anything like that has discouraged me from doing that. Whereas Baldur's Gate 3, it'll be like there's a house in the city and I walk into there and somehow it's some huge interesting quest, or there's like a dead body I can talk to, or I just feel like I'm so rewarded for looking around in Baldur's Gate in a way that Starfield doesn't really, or if it did in that case, it's like quickly undermined in some way.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even, at least in Starfield, like looking around is, you don't even really have to look around to find stuff. Like the game will just throw it at you.
Yeah.
Like you'll walk down the street and then it'd be like you just overhear someone, or sometimes I've had missions just get added that I didn't even hear about. Like I was far enough away to where like I caught like maybe a very faint like final few words of someone saying something, and then you get the update about like, hey, you should go investigate so and so. And you're like, what was even that? Like I didn't even have the context for that. I was just out of earshot. So I don't even know what this is. Should I do this? And you almost wish like because realistically I didn't hear enough for me to want to do this. I wish I would maybe tighten that up where I would have to be closer to where like, okay, I did catch that. But again, it feels like the game's like shoving things at you like, hey, go do this. This is here. It's, whether you like it or not, you have this now. And like I said, it doesn't feel as organic as what you're describing of like, I stepped into a room and I have stumbled upon a scene that I am now in. And it's like, you're like, all right, this is cool. Not that there have been a couple moments in Starfield that are similar to that. Like I've stepped into rooms and like, oh my, what a weird thing that's in here. But yeah, that like what you're describing, even just like that, like, oh, that sounds infinitely more interesting than anything I've seen so far in Starfield. And like, again, like you said, obviously a game that massive, like things are going to get reused, but just hearing that you encounter the exact same sort of like discovery point of like, oh, high level chest, can't get in, what's the alternative, and it's the same solution, then that to me still feels a little egregious of like, put the key somewhere else at least. Like don't do it the exact same way, put it on a table somewhere, or anything else, because like
the dead body just like
or even do like give me a 180 flip so it's like it's like a mirror mode on a Mario Kart course, or at least I'm going right instead of left, because
it's like it went from a thing of like, oh, this was a fun little thing that maybe a lot of people won't see, to like, oh no, I found like the random version of this, and then there's like a main, I don't know if it was a main quest or not, but like
it was a main quest.
Oh, okay. So it's like you will do this if it's a story quest. It's like, we thought this was so cool that we want players to see it, but we also made it an optional version of the same thing. It's like and
it's not, and I guess I also want to say like, it's not without its moments. Like I'm not completely not enjoying Starfield. I played like right before work today, there was a fun quest where it was like I talked a guy into bringing me into like his vault, his top secret vault, and then once I got there, it's like the only way to get out was to steal the thing, but I had walked through his entire facility and saw how many guys were out there, so then it made like a fun reverse heist situation where I was, instead of fighting my way into a base, I was fighting my way out of a base, and I was like, that's super cool quest design. And it's not like that stuff doesn't exist, it's just I don't know. Baldur's Gate is just like a new S tier, and it's bumped the whole scale down a whole tier level for me. But yes,
I mean, I almost feel like that sometimes with Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like, I've heard people say like, I don't know how you make a Zelda game without building stuff going forward because of how much fun it is, and like I love the problem solving that comes with it, because like Breath of the Wild was already like, that was the game that introduced like more creative freedom with how you tackle things, and then Tears of the Kingdom just upped the ante even more. So you're like, even just other open world games, like just the idea of like, I could just build some weird solution to this problem, and the game just says, okay, like, like whatever you want to do, go for it, man. And it's like, I love that so much, to where like, again, you play a similar game, you're like, kind of wish I could do something like that here. And he's like, I understand that not all games going to be like that, it's fine. Like games can still be great doing like kind of staying in their lane, I guess, whatever, right? I guess maybe we're harping on Starfield because it had that promise of
but Bethesda was also used to be the person you would look to for that type of thing.
They were the previous
it's like we're chasing that high that we all felt when like Starfield Skyrim came out, of like, that felt like a game playing it at launch of like, it feels like anything's possible in this world. And them, even though it wasn't true, the game did a great job of at least tricking you into thinking that it was. But we've had other games since then that again have taken that ball and run with it in their own way, and like Starfield kind of feeling maybe a little bit more antiquated in some ways, and like it stands out more, I guess. I feel like we're really picking on Starfield today, and I feel bad again. But I mean, I'm just being honest from what I've played. I still plan on playing more Starfield, and again, I have my fun moments with it. But it's just it's come out at a very interesting time, you know.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, it comes the PS5 version of Baldur's Gate comes out the same day as the full launch of Starfield. So I mean, they are going head to head anyway, you know. And those comparisons going to be made more because now both audiences for both games have grown now on the same day. So I mean, I'll be curious to see how we feel by like end of year when we have maybe have beaten both or one of them. But yeah, I mean, I'm playing Starfield. I'm going in trying to play it on its terms because like my expectations going into Starfield were in check. Like I never had to like, this is where everything is possible. It's just like, it's probably going to be a pretty good one of those in terms of like it's a Bethesda game in space. Again, there are things that are disappointing, mainly the space travel stuff. But then again, I've had moments of like, oh, okay, I'm having fun right now in this cool looking city or this weird little mission, or like you mentioned, Alex, the gunplay is like fun enough and whatever. I just have to, I'm still just finding like, I'm still finding that groove that I want to hit that I hit with their other titles, their past titles, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm hoping maybe I find that in the base building. Because I was one of the sickos that liked Fallout 4's base building, and I haven't reached that point in Starfield yet. So that could really, you know, if they've improved that system, if they've kind of added more incentive to do that, and made it more dynamic in terms of being rated and stuff. Because I spent easily like 25 hours in Fallout building a base, never got attacked once. Excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me.
Wait, you're saying you never got attacked in Fallout 4?
Nope.
Because I got attacked all the time, which is one thing that frustrated me. Of like, it didn't matter how many defenses I put up, I would get the Garvey guy that runs up and is like, "Whoa, bro, we're getting swarmed. You got to come back." And it's like, I just put like new turrets and everything around. Can you guys not do anything yourselves? Like it felt like I was frustrated because it felt like nothing I did actually mattered. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get raided at the same frequency no matter what. I could hang the corpses of all the people that tried outside as warnings, and they're still gonna roll up and try to take over.
Yeah, my main building, or my main whatever that sanctuary, right? Is that what it's called? Yeah, that's where I had my main base. Excuse me. And I had other little like settlements that would get raided here and there, like just little ones, but never the one that I built up to be this fortress of like, I just wanted to have a fight there, you know? I was ready.
I got tired of the fight, so I was like, okay, this is happening too frequently, so I'm gonna put like top of the line weapons everywhere. So I hope that would deter, but I guess they're either brave or stupid, the Raiders, because they keep trying.
You thought deterrent would deter it? That's some fun. That was fun, right?
Good words, spitting bars.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys want to talk about anything else before we start to wrap up? Tears of the Kingdom, anything like that?
Tears of the Kingdom. Where
are you in the game?
So I have the Master Sword.
I don't yet.
I will say the sequence of getting the Master Sword and everything around it narratively might be the most emotional I've been in a Zelda game in a while, where I was like, okay, I didn't expect this, but I like this a lot. And I was like kind of floored by it a little bit. I think it's a top moment of the year. Personally.
Definitely.
It's really something. But yeah, I got the Master Sword. I got all the glyphs. I finished the Phenomenon stuff. And I've been doing a lot of trying to finish the more kind of like bigger quest. Like I have 3 of the 4 fairy fountains unlocked. Gotcha. I've got all but one of the journalist missions with Pen. Doing those. I want that froggy suit, and I've got parts of it. I just need the rest of it. And yeah, I think I've found. I don't know if I've say most of the shrines, but I definitely have a lot of them. And I've explored like probably half of the depths at this point. Like my energy bar is pretty big for the Zonai stuff, and I also have a lot of hearts. I'm feeling pretty good. I just kind of want to upgrade. Like I want to get that last fairy fountain and kind of upgrade all my gear all the way. And just doing like little things here and there, but I'm basically trying to set myself up to try to finish. I would like to have Zelda finish this month. Like I'm trying to get stuff cleared out before October.
Yeah, that's smart.
You know, so like I'm kind of focusing on mainlining it through Zelda for a bit, while still like not sacrificing just the sheer, like we mentioned before, how much fun it is just to walk around and be like, oh, I just found something. Okay,
Yeah.
what's this? Or I met like a weird person. I mean, how else am I gonna keep putting up supporting those stupid Hudson signs?
True, dude.
You know?
No one's gonna know about Hudson if you're not there.
I mean, I actually genuinely do enjoy those little puzzles. Like when I see Addison, I'm like, oh, I beeline it to him. Like I'm gonna help this idiot out.
I do wish there were more depth in those, because once you do it once, you've done them all.
Oh no, there's some tricky ones.
Oh wait,
There's some ones
that's
where
never mind. Yeah, I've done one in the
sign holding
snow. Yeah, I've done the snow one.
Yeah, the terrain does change it a lot sometimes.
And the sign changes too, where you'll see it's like got weird slots, or it's like wider or thinner. Like where you're like, okay, I have to.
Wait, really?
And sometimes
I feel like I've done like 20 of them at least, and I haven't. They've all been the same.
Oh, I've done a bunch.
Signs definitely change. Yeah,
changes. And I remember I had one where there weren't even like readily available materials. Like I had to chop trees to make stuff.
That's
like there was
cool.
nothing around, and I like that one. Like, yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe you've just stumbled across the more like basic ones, but I've come across a ton that were like, I really had to think outside the box.
I do hope in the sequel, to Tears to Breath of the Wild, you'll be able to like help them build little houses and stuff. I think that'd be really fun.
I mean, you technically could do that now. They got all those building materials laying around. Like you could turn those into a house.
Yeah, but I want like the incentive, right? I want him to.
But I did that in the first game with Terrytown. Like you.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because this game builds upon that. Of like, hey, remember the town you helped build? Now they're up and running.
I've been doing all that stuff. I guess I meant like get the signpost dude. Yeah. I thought it'd be cool.
I don't think it's a promotion in the next game, because his devotion should be rewarded.
Yeah.
Even though he's really terrible at like putting up signs, it's like this really isn't that hard, bro. But I do like narratively. I noticed this recently because I found him in like a snow area, and I like that his dialogue changed where he justifies being there. Where he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I ate like a spicy dish, so I'm not cold because I barely wear anything." So in case you're wondering, like, well, how is he even physically alive right now? They throw in like, I just appreciate that little detail.
Yeah.
And then he gives you the food when you help him. It's like, hey, you have some. He's really good at those rice balls. That's like his go-to dish.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I played Tears of the Kingdom was probably it was in July or early August, something like that. I did a charity stream. I was part of the Axe of the Blood God Trans Life charity stream, and Eric Van Aken and I battled one-on-one to see who could get the most Koroks into the top of Death Mountain without attaching them to things. And number one, that just like made me, I'd kind of like taken a break from the game, and that kind of pulled me back in, and I was like, this game is really special that we're even having this competition. And it definitely like really made me want to finish that game. So I've been slowly working on it too. I've got 3. I am halfway through the Thunder dungeon, or the Sand dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I have to do part of the fire one, because of the event that we did, I had to like stop what I was doing and go and unlock the fire stuff, because I had to do the Death Mountain stuff. So I'm eager to keep playing that. It's kind of like
we did the spoiler cast, and I think we voted I voted the lightning one as my favorite temple in the game.
I like it a lot.
But I really like the wind boss. That was my favorite.
Yeah,
boss.
the wind.
It's weird
great.
because I almost never use the lightning power you get for it. Like of all the summoning abilities, like the one I use Tulin almost all the time.
Oh yeah.
Because that's just so useful, and you glide a lot. And then I also use Goron Guy, because when you go underground, it just saves you bombs and rock hammers to just throw him at stuff. Zora Guy, who I did the Zora one last, so I just haven't had enough time with him, but there hasn't been really a use case for that yet. And like literally this weekend when I was playing, I had to remind myself, like, oh yeah, I never the Gerudo power. Like, how come I forgot that I had this? What should I use this for?
Yeah. Yeah, just like the powers where you have to go up and talk to the person just makes it way more of a hassle than
I wish
like when they're with you for the dungeon.
Yeah.
That's so you can just have
Well,
their
I mean,
thing.
like even once you've completed the dungeon, like you still like with Tulin or whatever, like it just prompts you, do you want to gust when you're flying? Yes or no, pretty much. And you just do it versus like Prince Sidon, you have to like walk up and talk to him in the middle of a battle to have him shield you. And that
you kind of wish that button prompt was always on screen.
It doesn't feel right otherwise, and so I find myself not using it as often as Tulin.
It's like I wouldn't have summoned you here for anything else. I'm not here to talk to you.
Yeah, give me that shield, baby.
Yeah, like do the one thing you're good at.
Yeah.
Even in Breath of the Wild, the champion abilities were like hold jump.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the thing will happen, or hold the
attack
strong attack button.
Yeah. I did think the water temple was pretty cool. It was,
I loved that one.
I like the structure of it. I'm like, hey, this is not what I expected this would be.
I took that boss out with I made a giant battle car that had fire hydrants on both sides. And that's how I took out the mud boss.
That rocks.
Smart. Yeah. That's not how I did that, but that's a good idea.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that game's great. God, what a year.
Yeah.
What a year, dude.
And it's not even done. We still have like I said, mentioned before, like October still has so much stuff. Stuff getting delayed. You saw Alone in the Dark got delayed to next year.
Oh.
And their reason literally is we don't want to go up against the stuff there. Like that was their candid.
Honestly, that's smart.
Yeah, now it's like January, which is like, okay, like, hey, man, I like that they're not BSing it. They're like that was reason number one, and then reason number two was like, and I guess we can work on the game more.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we don't want part of that. Why?
Yeah, exactly. No reason. Delay it by 2 months, and you have instantly way more visibility as a game.
Yeah.
But.
Cool.
Man, like I said, I've said this before, like it's the happiest problem to have, to be like, I have all these games I'm drowning in. I've been playing a lot more Final Fantasy. I still have to finish that, but I've been mainlining that too lately, and that still continues to be a delight. Love that game. And then just and stuff that I have to go back to that came out, prior that, I would like to touch that, like just thinking about all that, and like there's like the stress of like, how the hell am I going to do all that? But then it's like, eating good, baby.
Yeah.
It's like I got hot food coming, and then I got some nice leftovers too.
True. I'm like committing. I'm like, I don't think I can play Alan Wake 2 because there's so many things going on, and I also haven't played Alan Wake 1. And I'm just like, sometimes you have to be like, I'm not gonna play this game. That's fine. A lot of people on staff are gonna play it. It's not gonna be the end of the world. But it's also like, okay, but then if that's the one game I'm out playing, Assassin's Creed, Spider-Man, Sonic, Mario, like those four are like, that's so much stuff. I don't know. I was talking about how it's sad to keep knocking stuff out of my number one spot. I'm a really big Spider-Man fan. I have 2 Spider-Man posters in the shot with me as I speak.
Yeah.
I've literally had dreams about I don't know if I had dreams before Miles Morales came out, but I've had dreams about Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2.
Like playing the game?
Yeah, I had a dream. I'm usually web swinging in them, but I was so excited for the web swinging in the Spider-Man 2018 that was like a recurring dream of mine, and that was the reason I ended up getting a PS4. But yeah, it's crazy.
Good web swinging.
Great web swinging.
Great web swinging.
Yeah.
The best.
Yeah, phenomenal.
And now there's gonna be wingsuits.
Yeah, that does look pretty fun.
Putting the wing into web swing.
Yeah, use those armpit webs for something.
Finally.
Yeah, I just have those, as a person.
Like you just haven't dusted under there in a while.
I've got cobwebs in my armpits.
I mean, if that's what happens, I won't do any maintenance. If I can just get like some natural webs, and then I could jump off a roof and wings fly around. Who needs deodorant when you can fly around, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've reached the end, fellas, of the podcast.
Down. That's the opening riff from The End by The Doors.
I don't know that song. I probably do. I probably do. Yeah.
If you've seen Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heard.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for listening. Be sure to follow these guys here on social media. You can follow Charles at ChuckDuck365. You can follow Marcus at MarcusStewart7. You can follow me, Alex. I'm at It's Van Aken. Don't forget to go and follow Game Informer on TikTok and X and Instagram and all the places now. Importantly, Blue Sky as well. That's kind of where I think I've settled for the most part. That and I'm still on Twitter, but
we're on Threads too, right?
We're on Threads. Yeah, we are. Game Informer is. Personally, I hardly use it, but Game Informer I think actively posts on it. So if you're looking for coverage of your favorite games, we're there. You just got to go and find us and hit that follow button. If you want to join our community Discord, all you have to do is go to twitch.tv/GameInformer and subscribe one time. That gets you access to the official Game Informer community Discord. And, we have all sorts of conversations in there throughout the week in terms of, we also have, you can ask questions on our various shows. We have a feedback section in the magazine that it isn't officially like guaranteed that you're going to be in the magazine if you ask a question there, but like we check there a lot throughout the month when we're making the magazine and answer questions that readers have. And a lot of times it does get put in the magazine. So great place to do that. Of course, go and listen to All Things Nintendo, which is our Nintendo podcast hosted by Brian Shea. Shout out to our podcast editor, Matt Storm, aka DJ Stormageddon. You can go and follow their podcasts, Fun and Games, which is a general gaming chat podcast, and then a BioWare specific podcast called the Reignite podcast. That's going to do it for the show this week. Thank you again, everybody. We will see you next Thursday. Bye.